Hello and welcome to this Greater Manchester Learning Provider Network interview session, looking forward to 2021. GMLPN includes over 100 training providers, including universities, colleges, independent training providers, charities and employer providers. I'm Anne Gornall, Executive Director of GMLPN, and I want to introduce one of our board members, Jonathan Bourne from Damar, who will tell us his views on vocational learning going forward. Hi Jonathan, thank you for joining us to give us your views and insight into what 2021 might bring for training providers and vocational learning. That is quite a tall order, but we know you do have views. So when we look back at 2020, we've witnessed many challenges and some opportunities also. Our chair, Mark Curry, famously said, we progressed 7 years in 7 months in terms of practice. But it's timely now to look forward to 2021, and I think it would be good to hear from you what you think the challenges and opportunities for training providers and vocational learning specifically.
Well, thanks, Anne, and that's quite a big question, but I'll do my very best. I think here we are. So we're talking in December 2020, after this unprecedented period of challenge and change. I think the first thing to bear in mind is we're not quite through this yet. We've got several more months of social distancing to go. It has been hugely challenging for providers, for students, apprentices and employers. There's a little bit more to do to work through what is now hopefully the end of the pandemic. So bedding in some of those new ways of working, working very hard with apprentices and employers, particularly those who are midway through programme and have had, in some cases, quite a challenging period of their apprenticeship and particularly end to their apprenticeship. But we will get through that. And you're quite right, now is the time to be looking forward to 2021 and thinking, you know, after this period of unprecedented change, and it's not going to stop, of course, at the end of the pandemic, what does that mean for vocational learning? And I suppose I have somewhat of an apprenticeship bias, so apologies for that. We're an apprenticeship provider first and foremost. What does that mean for apprenticeships? And I think for me and for our business coming into 2021, I have to say I'm as excited as I've ever been about apprenticeships. I'm a huge advocate of apprenticeships, as you know, but I'm also, I hope, honest. I think we need to appreciate that in the future we're going to have to do some things differently with apprenticeships. There are some real challenges. The economy has changed so much just over the last few months. Everybody's job has changed to some degree. The economy seems to be, you know, going faster than anything that I've certainly had in my life, and I certainly echo what Mark said about 7 years in 7 months of evolution. So I think it is time, and this is really what I'm excited about, it is time for us as a sector to reimagine what we do with apprenticeships. We know that the economy over the next few years is going to be very different in a number of respects from the pre-pandemic world. This future economy and apprenticeships have got a huge part to play in helping us rebuild post-pandemic. Future economy is going to require future skills. And I think that's where the first challenge to our sector comes. Apprenticeships have historically been designed in a way that, if I'm honest, is a bit backwards looking. We get together a group of employers from a sector to design an apprenticeship. They agree on a job, and that job has already been in existence for a few years at that point, almost by definition. We design an apprenticeship which takes a couple of years to design, then in most cases at least a couple of years or more to deliver, or certainly to deliver in any volume. By the time any apprentices actually graduate at the end of their apprenticeships, we are several years beyond the point at which that apprenticeship was first conceived. I think for all of us now, looking at 2020 and how quickly the world has changed, I think we'd have to say, look, if we're not careful, if we don't think differently about apprenticeships are going to actually quite rapidly be out of date, and they're not going to help with that rebuilding of the economy in the way that we need. You know, we know some of the sectors where we've got skill shortages, areas like health and social care, some areas of manufacturing. What we don't know, and in some ways this is the most exciting thing, are those areas that are going to bring us out post-pandemic, where these are industries that don't exist. These are jobs that don't yet exist. How do we use apprenticeships to get us ready for those? And I think that's a huge challenge. But I think actually we can look at what's happened in 2020 and make some kind of quite sensible judgments about the way forward. When I'm thinking about where businesses have succeeded in 2020 and where individuals have succeeded, it's interesting. It's not usually because of the huge amount of technical knowledge that they might have about their particular business or area. It's because actually of their skills and behaviours, things like resilience, communication skills, adaptability, the ability to manage one's own health and physical health and mental well-being, the ability to be confident that you can find a workaround to a problem. And I think that's really interesting, because when we build apprenticeships, we tend to think of knowledge, of skills and of behaviours, and usually in that order of priority as well. Knowledge is often at the top of the tree in terms of what we're looking at. And actually, I think moving forwards, and this sounds, literally revolutionary, it's time that we turn that upside down. I'll try and explain why. Those skills and behaviours, things like resilience, adaptability, confidence, really importantly, learning how to learn as well, I think are going to be critical ingredients of future apprenticeships. I've said this to my team quite a lot over the last year, actually, but I think knowledge, and as somebody in education, this sounds like a bit of an odd thing to say, knowledge is becoming easier to acquire, in some cases more short-lived and more disposable, by which I mean we are going to have to keep acquiring new knowledge as we go through our careers. I mean, we can look at some of the jobs out there at the moment, some of the things that have happened over the last few months. It was announced very recently that there would be no new petrol and diesel cars sold from 2030.
Yeah.
That means surely that, and sadly in some ways, we're not going to need very many more people who are skilled in maintaining petrol and diesel cars. Apprentices doing programs in those areas now, they're going to have to learn new knowledge and in some cases new skills over their career. Areas that I know about and close to what we do at Damar in professional services, the work that paralegals do in the legal sector, entry-level accountants, administrators, many of those jobs are going to be affected by artificial intelligence and the rise of new ways of working over the coming years. We shouldn't worry about that. Previous industrial revolutions have shown that new jobs get created during periods of change, but they are different jobs. So we've got to train our accountants, paralegals, administrators of the future, not just with the knowledge that they need now, but also we've got to equip them with the skills to get new knowledge in the future. And that's something I'm really excited about. So for me, there are two big things that as a sector we really need to be thinking about. One is, how can we develop apprenticeships a little bit quicker and in such a way that they are perhaps a little bit broader in scope and a bit more flexible than now. We've got 700 different apprenticeship standards, and we have to ask ourselves how many of those apprenticeship standards relate to jobs that are actually going to exist in the economy in 5 or 10 years' time. And we also need, in terms of how we deliver apprenticeships, I think, to give more weight to those things that have been so valuable to people in 2020, and that's really behaviours, skills, and the confidence and the ability to acquire new knowledge. We're all experts on Zoom and Teams now, after all. None of us knew how to do that a year ago. We've learned how to do it.
Indeed. So, Jonathan, thanks for that fairly radical view. We know you're an avid supporter of apprenticeships, and certainly that revolutionary turning the knowledge, skills and behaviours upside down makes complete sense. Thank you very much for your views, and let's review where we are at the end of 21.
Be happy to do that. Thank you for having me.
Okay.